I fucked up my mana regen before another boss fight, which is not good. Wait, what? Where'd her HP go? Huh? Barely even attacked her! Hello everyone, and welcome. Today I want to show off Prisoner, and we're going to be doing a 100 Transcendence run with him, which I don't even think will be too difficult, but we'll see. The one thing we're going to be doing different in Mind Crystals for Prisoner is running Infiltration, since a lot of his moves will apply debuffs on their own. If you hear kind of a chirping noise during this video, I apologize, but there's not really much I can do about it. It's a background noise that I can't get rid of. But anyways, with Prisoner, there's a couple things I want to explain before we jump into the run, because it's really poorly explained in-game, and honestly, part of it the game just doesn't even tell you about. So until you get this specific potential here that says enhances the starting weapons, you will not see the other backpacks, you will not see mutations or universal enhancement. You will only see weapon backpack 1 and jump and dash upgrades. So if you don't know about that and you're getting really unlucky with this upgrade, then you can end up not seeing the other backpacks or upgrades for half the run, sometimes even 3/4 of the run. And then the other thing that you basically must take is the final 2 upgrades and universal enhancement, where various weapon enhancements also affect universal attack or universal skill moves. The backpacks do not have their own individual upgrades. You unlock them, and that is the only potential for the backpacks. The way the other upgrades works is that you need the universal enhancement for attacks or skills, and then that will transfer whatever upgrades you have for backpack 1, either from weapon or skill, onto weapon or skill for 2 and 3. It makes sense for the backpacks to have shared upgrades. That way things like your upgrades and your inputs for each backpack is always the same. But honestly, I feel like those 2 potentials that are downright required in order to transfer them are not necessary at all. That should just be a basic mechanic of how he works. As soon as you get an upgrade for backpack 1, it's applied to backpack 2 and 3. Because this is just something where you just have to know about it, and you have to hope you get the correct potential to make things work. I think gameplay-wise, doing the backpack switching stuff and like managing combos with him isn't too difficult, and it's really well designed just from a gameplay input perspective. But from understanding the potentials and how they work, they've done a very poor job with explaining things like this to the character, or to the player, I mean, not the character. The problem with the universal enhancements is mostly just a wording issue. Things need to be more clear there. But the problem of having specific potentials locked, they just don't even tell you anywhere that I've seen. So my first experiences with the Prisoner were that I was always unlocking the other backpacks halfway to 3/4 of the way through the run, which is not a good look for a character that is supposed to be all about switching backpacks and switching a bunch of weapon types around. Honestly, I don't know if that... I can kind of see why that restriction is there, because it lets you get the It lets you get more weapon backpack 1 upgrades before you start unlocking the other backpacks, which is helpful, but I don't know if it really needs to be there. Like, I honestly thought the prisoner was bugged or something the first time I played him. Just due to not knowing the specific upgrade I needed to take to get the backpacks, and then just on top of that, having some really unlucky potential selections where I just didn't get the upgrade or didn't take it. This has kind of been a general gripe that I've had with this game, that things are just not well explained anywhere in the game. Hazama was a pretty big turning point for that in terms of characters too, just because of how complicated his potentials get with being mostly in hidden effects that you have to manage. But I think Prisoner is pretty much as bad as that for other reasons. Prisoner's not that difficult to understand once you kind of get a feel for how these rules work, but it's just, if someone doesn't tell you that, then you're not too likely to figure it out on your own unless you're really closely testing things and paying attention, which you should not have to do in a game just to understand how to unlock basic functions of the character. Like I said, I get why they had to design things this way mechanically, because for one, he would have a shitload of potentials if every backpack was completely separate, and then it would also make things more complicated input-wise, because the way that it works right now is that as long as you have those universal upgrades, you'll always have the same inputs and everything and upgrades for the 3 backpacks. So it makes everything very smooth input-wise. But in terms of just giving the player any kind of information on how these work, that's where they lack. Other than that, I think Prisoner is really smooth to play, and also pretty overpowered, especially because they've somehow... So Ragna's second legacy skill was already very game-breaking in terms of just overall power level and how much it lets you pretty much be bad at the game and still win high difficulty runs. Like, right now I haven't been playing it well at all in terms of how much damage I've taken, but it's not going to matter in the slightest, which we'll see soon. So this is the potential I mentioned before. You have to get this one if you want to see your other backpacks. I actually don't want to take it yet, because I think Infantry Grenade and Crossbow are so good that it's worth holding off on getting some of the other stuff. Not to say that the other backpacks are bad by any means, but I haven't tested them quite as much, and then... I don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, I haven't tested the other backpacks out quite as much. So if I'm able to just get a really consistent build of going Crossbow and Grenade with Backpack 1, there's not really an incentive for me to take the other backpacks early on. The biggest incentive to start going for other upgrades early on is one of the mutations called Barbed Tips, which is also just something that's completely broken on him. And I will probably explain that one if I hopefully see it at some point. So you could see a glimpse of it there at the end of this boss fight, where Ragna healing just skyrocketed my HP bar compared to where it was. And we can actually... Oh, you don't get to upgrade the healing of this, but you get to upgrade the damage of it at least. That's a Transcendence bonus only. So the thing that's really broken about this is that, like I said, Blood Cane was already a extremely good legacy skill on its own. And then what Prisoner's passive does is it makes it where after you take damage, you have a short amount of time to recover that HP back. Prisoner's passive is applying on the damage that you take from Ragna's second passive. So not only are you healing from, or not his second passive, but his second active, I mean. So not only are you healing from the active itself, you're also healing from Prisoner's... you're also healing from Prisoner's passive, part of the damage you're taking. So you're basically just getting double healing off of it. And then Prisoner's passive itself, if you're getting the mutations for it, also just becomes downright really broken on its own. It's decent enough, even without any upgrades, but when it gets upgrades is when it becomes really crazy. Well, I didn't pick up fast MP recovery during this run. That's why my MP seems a bit worse than usual. Usually with Prisoner, or honestly any character, if you have the extra starting money to buy buffs before a run, buying fast kill MP recovery is so good on any character. But with Prisoner in particular, his grenades are really low cost, so having something that heals a little bit of MP back really allows you to just spam them and clear enemies easily. So for this build, I need to make sure I pick up Flash Enhancement, where Flash deals damage to enemies. I'll explain the build a little bit more once more things get put together for it. Probably that will be basically at the point of where we get the next red effect, which should be coming up soon. So for the grenade, you mostly want the upgrades where it can splinter into other grenades, and then it does a bigger AoE. You can see the AoE radius on it is just honestly insane. Even if there's 3 platforms on the stage, you can hit all 3 of them simultaneously. So now let me check real quick if it's Holy Mark I need to max out, or if it's Flash. It looks like it is Flash, and then I need to make sure I don't pick up Light Spear Flash on accident as well. that's going to be something that's going to be in the pool. It is very possible I accidentally pick it up, since I'm doing commentary, but we'll try to avoid it. So check out my HP bar there. I was pretty low and then went up to about 3/4 just in one use of the tactic. Or one use of the legacy skill, and it's only going to get better as time goes on too. Especially if I'm able to pick up some HP. I don't know exactly how Ragna's legacy skill healing works. It's like, I don't think it's straight up damage. It's almost like every move has its own multiplier for how much it heals. But then the one thing that does for sure increase the healing is just increasing your own max HP pool. So if I can get some HP upgrades from anything really, sortitions or shops, that's something that'll make the healing a lot better. I guess I might as well max out crossbow before I move on to other things. There's really no reason not to get the last one. I mentioned it before, I think, but another good thing about the crossbows is that the third upgrade for them makes it where they apply debuffs for you automatically, and you can do things like putting, you can take Attack Frost and Frost Burst, and then have that on your attack skills. But then at the same time, your crossbow will be applying Frost Burst on its own too, even though it's a skill move, because it has its own way to... It has its own way to apply Frost. You can do some stuff with Rend as well, because the crossbow applies Rend, and then also Blind. The build that I'm going might be able to... Or it will be able to kind of double proc light explosions as well. So you can see that now that I picked up that potential that I mentioned at the beginning, now stuff like Weapon Backpack and Mutation start showing up. This is a pretty good healing option. Anything in the Brutality is really good for healing, especially the Adrenaline one. I think we'll refresh a little bit. Oh, perfect. We can pick up Adrenaline. We really don't have much money saved up here, but I'm gonna visit the shop anyways. Oh, perfect. We got what we needed for the boss fight. Barb Tips is just hilariously broken. You can put this on any build, and any build becomes much stronger. This makes it where the more arrows that are stacked into an enemy... I'm gonna refresh this just to see what's on discount. This is probably a Tactic Ascension, which I don't really care about. But anyways, I'll explain what Barb Tips does after we just see what it does to this boss. So I'm gonna stack a bunch of arrows, I'm gonna freeze him, I'm gonna use Ragna passive, and oh, he's gone. And we are officially at the point of where Prisoner's just completely trivializing the rest of the boss fights. I guess we'll go ahead and pick this up just for more debuff applications. So the way that Barb Tips works is that you have your up plus attack arrows, this attack right here, and every time it hits an enemy, the arrows stick into them, and the more arrows that are stuck in them, the more damage they will take. The arrows last for an extremely long time, and the buff doesn't cap either. So you can just skyrocket your damage if you want to sit there and stack arrows for long enough. This one is tempting. The only place this might kill me is in Omega Sector. If I take this, I probably need to just go straight into Susano, which hopefully I actually remember to do by the time we get there. It would not be very unlike me to just forget about this debuff entirely and just muscle memory into doing my normal things. There we go. I probably... we can still get some healing off of it. I probably should have waited to do that until there was actually enemies spawned, but it's kind of hard to do because enemies are dying too quickly. And if enemies are spawned, I would rather be keeping them in hit stun than trying to get a perfect dodge. Really, I just need to proc Ragna second legacy a couple times and I'll be back to full health anyways. But I wanted to show off that when you do a perfect dodge and you have the passive for it, you have the ability to regain your entire health bar back. Let's see how much we can get out of that. Again, the problem is just going to be first world problems of enemies die too quickly for me to proc enough healing. Wow, that really should have been a case where I was like net loss or even neutral from Ragna healing, but I was still able to just heal so much back at the end of it. What do we want to start going for next? Did I pick up Backpack 2 already? I did not. I guess we can take a look at this one. I think this just makes it where when you're over a certain combo and kill streak, you slowly get more of passive healing back, even though you're not taking damage or dodging or anything. So by the way, if you are going for Barb Tips, just don't pick up Ripper. Honestly, I think Ripper, when I tried it out, just wasn't worth it in general, especially compared to how strong Barb Tips is. Alright, we can go ahead and pick up Backpack 2 now. What I usually like to do with backpacks is going to be a lot more difficult to do without the fast kill MP recovery. So by the way, see my HP bar there? Since I'm above the combo, or at least I was until my combo dropped off. But anyway, since I was above the limit, it just gradually gives me more healing back. So really, if you're only taking like short bursts of damage and like small chip damage randomly, Prisoner can just very easily heal any damage taken back. Can I get fast kill MP recovery, please? I don't think I got it. I did get speedrun reward and no damage reward, which are going to be nice for having some extra money to refresh the shops. I never really bothered with the shield too much, but it's probably a decent option to take as a defensive option. I know that Backpack 3 has a pretty good down plus skill effect as well, so it'd be worth it just for unlocking that. I can unlock the hold attack. That'll be pretty useful, if for nothing else, for just having some extra movement. So I need to make sure and not take Light Spear Flash. I guess what I'll do here is I'll take Attack Rend since it's gold, and then switch it out for, I want Light Wave on that slot to finish out the build, ideally. So I guess at some point I should probably start showing off the backpack switching system, since it's kind of supposed to be what Prisoner's all about, I think, but unfortunately Backpack 1, as well as the other, or Backpack 1 being so strong, as well as the other just weird mechanics behind unlocking and upgrading Backpack 2 and 3, make it where I honestly don't feel incentivized at all to go for Backpack 2 and 3. I'm sure Backpacks 2 and 3 both have their own... Sorry, the tactics menu is always going to be confusing, because I need to keep remembering not to pick up that red tactics that's going to keep showing up. But anyways, I'm sure Backpacks 2 and 3 definitely have their own builds that are very strong, but the consistency of just being able to upgrade Backpack 1 so quickly and easily, and then combined with how powerful it is, makes it really less enticing to go for the other backpacks. Especially in high difficulty runs like this, where maxing out on DPS is not necessarily a requirement, but it is something that is very important to do because of the time limit. So now I think I need to max out Light Wave. Am I missing something? Let's see, so we started out with Summon Ice Spike and Freezing Blade. Or we started out with Summon Ice Spike and Ice Spike Mark. That allows Ice Spikes to apply and detonate Holy Marks. And then we also started with Holy Mark and Stable Mark. Stable Mark makes it where the marks don't disappear after being hit the first time, they just last for a duration. So you can keep hitting them constantly with a lot of multi-hit stuff like crossbows and the grenades, and you'll do a bunch of extra damage this way. And then from there, I wanted to pick up Mark Flash immediately, or as fast as possible. It makes it where anytime an enemy is attacked that has a Holy Mark on them, they also trigger Flash, which blinds enemies, and then I took the specific enhancement where Flash deals damage to enemies. So basically, we have Frost and Frost Burst on these things, except they're also being applied by the Ice Spikes, which I guess is also the same as Frost Burst, but I think this is more damage than Frost Burst when all things is put together. And then what I need next is the part that I'm trying to remember. When Flash appears, fire a Light Sphere at it. So that is what I need to get next. Since this is going to be making flashes appear constantly, it's just confusing and annoying because there's Light Sphere Flash and then Flash Light Sphere. And I think if I take this, it messes with the build in some way. But anyways, here we go. When Flash appears, fire a Light Sphere at it. Oops, I'm on Backpack 3. That is a pain because it's going to drain my MP. I guess I can technically just wait it out. I wanted to unsummon the sword because the summon sword from Backpack 3 drains your MP constantly, or just disables your regen, depending on what upgrades you have. So let's see. We'll do crossbow. We'll throw down a bunch of the barb tips, and then what do we want to do from here? Let's try out the Backpack 3 thing. Just spin to win. Obviously not as good of damage as throwing the grenades into it. But you can see that once you get barbed tips stacked up, you can basically just do whatever you want against the bosses, and they will take pretty high DPS. The best option obviously seems to be the grenades, but barbed tips just makes any build insanely powerful. I think I'm going to go ahead and get a couple upgrades in freeze duration as well next, just to hold Susano for a little bit longer in freeze, and if we get non-fire bite, the extra freezing duration will be good. So I guess now, ideally, I was gonna say the HP stacking would be nice, but this would be really useful, because the tactics themselves are dealing quite a bit of damage, and we will have 4 red tactics. The only problem now is that the whole thing that a prisoner was really good at was healing some sustained damage over time, but now I'm pretty easily in one-shot territory for 100 Transcendence. I think we just unlocked one of the cooler potentials for the... Or did we not? Oh, I know what problem I'm having right now. This is annoying. I'll explain it in a second. I want either Lightwave Stun or... Ideally, Lightwave Upgrade would be better, but I just don't have the rerolls now, and I don't think discarding it is worth it to wait. Usually I take Flexible Charging, but I'm not really taking Lightwave for my own attacks in this build. I'm taking Lightwave because we're going to be summoning a lot of Light Spears, and then Light Spears will be proccing Lightwave. So the problem I'm having right now is that it's what I talked about before. I have the other backpacks, but my other backpacks are really weak. Not necessarily really weak, but they're much weaker than Backpack 1 right now. because I just do not have the correct universal enhancement to share the attacks or skills over. And now I'm at the point of the end of the run where I don't have refreshes or anything, and I might not even see those by the end. I really think those two universal enhancements should just be removed. And make it where upgrades are always shared between the 3 backpacks. It is a little bit silly that you need to go into 2 hyper-specific universal enhancements just to have the things shared. Let me double check one more time, just because it's so easy to accidentally take the wrong thing and ruin the build here. So I need to get Light Spear Light Wave. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was hoping I'd have enough time to refresh at least one more time. I think the play here is taking max MP. Having a little bit more of a HP buffer would be nice. In terms of, like, getting to Susano. But even with that extra HP, I think Susano is going to... Susano's going to be able to one-shot me with certain moves. I gotta say, I'm really not a fan of the basic skill on Backpack 3 as well, which makes me not use it, the whole backpack as an entire thing, as much as I should. Backpack 2 I really like, especially for, like, the whole summon sword thing. And then I don't really care about the up attack too much from it, but I like the rapier attacks and the broadsword attacks, especially with one of the upgrades I can get for the rapier attacks. If the game decides to give me the universal enhancement that I need for it. So now that we have the full build done, Ice Spikes are applying Ice Spikes are applying Holy Marks for us, which are lasting for a duration instead of just breaking instantly. And then hitting these Holy Marks with anything will have a chance to trigger Flash, which Flash deals damage on its own. Flash also spawns Light Spears, and then anytime any of those Light Spears hit, they spawn Light Waves of their own. So the build is very powerful when put all together. And honestly, the Light Spear stuff is kind of just icing on the cake. The main things you want for it are Holy Marks and the ability to trigger Flash when you're hitting the Holy Marks. You could start with those two things together instead of taking the Ice Spike marks, but I really like the Ice Spike marks because they just deal so much damage on their own. And the other main reason to start with the Ice Spike marks, aside from just it lets you go full light tactic chance and mind crystals and get the rest of the stuff easier, but then also the really cool thing about Ice Spike Mark is that Holy Mark with Stable Mark has always been... Oh, we can get Supreme Mark with this build as well. So this just makes Holy Marks way better, basically. The being able to trigger Holy Marks with Light Wave isn't that big of a deal, but it makes Holy Marks deal a flat 110% more damage, which, when we're triggering them constantly, is a huge deal. So what I was saying before is that Holy Mark plus Stable Mark has always just been a really good DPS option, but it requires you to dash into enemies, which, if you're playing longer range characters, you don't necessarily want to do as much. So that's where Ice Spike Mark comes in handy, on top of just being really good for damage on its own. It gives you a safe way as a ranged character to apply Holy Marks. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use any more refreshes. I got decent value out of the Covenant effect, at least. It's not as good as it could have been, but having some extra discounts is always useful. So what backpack? We'll probably just go backpack 1 for this fight. Oh, I need to fix something. There we go. I fucked up my mana regen before another boss fight, which is not good. Wait, what? Where'd her HP go? Huh? Barely even attacked her! I just threw it down a crossbow and applied a couple of barb tips. I think if I remember correctly, I tested that barb tips doesn't affect tactic damage, but even just with the damage that it applies to your passive things like crossbow and the sword automatically attacking really gives you a lot of damage. And then on top of that, I'm doing way more damage than normal here because of my tactic setup is pretty optimized, and then the Peak of Perfection buff gives 250% damage on top of it. But still, I was not expecting a Transcendence 100 boss to just kind of randomly die while I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, basically, trying not to get killed myself. It's so tempting to go into Recce right now. Let me just run into Exchange for a second and see if we get the discount. Unfortunately, we don't, but we can pick up a buff at least and then get a little bit of HP back. Let's see, do I have a certain thing? Okay, I do. I think we can just cheese Recce. There's an upgrade for Weapon Backpack 1 with the down attack, where you can, when you're holding the block, you can press dash, and you can basically just use this for infinite iframes. Though I don't know if it's still susceptible if I take damage from the back. Whatever. I think we can just explode Recce here. Actually, no. We're not doing as good damage as I hoped we would. Let's see how abusable this is. It seems very, very abusable. I did take damage there. I think that's maybe because I got hit from behind. I haven't messed with too much how the blocking mechanics work. Wait, did we bug Recce again? Aw, I thought we might have bugged Recce again. They managed to fix it, but a while back I had bugged Recce to where she didn't recover HP between her phases. Well, as I said before, with Prisoner, especially if you have a good build setup, you can kind of just flounder around and not really know how to play the game that well, and just recover the HP back that you take. So here is the upgrade that would give universal skill enhancements to my other backpacks. I don't know if I really... Do I really care about it? I don't think so. Wings of the Crow, which is the up skill for Backpack 2, is a fun one to play around with, mostly for normal enemy rooms, but it's kind of too late to really try and use it against the bosses now. The one I wanted was universal attacks instead of universal skills. Oh, there we go. Now I'm probably just going to get myself killed during one of the boss fights trying to use this. There's a thing that I really like on Backpack 2 that should be unlocked now. Let me check. Reading and looking through these backpacks is also something that's a nightmare because there's just so much text. I'll just figure it out. It should be that now, when I'm doing my rapier swings, yeah, I have an up attack that's a ranged attack, and it will also kind of spawn fire spirits, basically. Unfortunately, they're a very bootleg version of fire spirits, because they tend to all fire like one at a time instead of in a burst. Man, I'm not getting as lucky with discounts as I usually am. I think they might have nerfed it at some point, because it used to be an extremely high chance. Do we go for Firebite here? If I'm able to get a proper fight against her, she's not a problem at all. At the same time, if she gets to go into her laser phase, then that could easily end the run. Oh, shoot. This is not too great either. I don't really want to be draining the constant NP on Thundercloud. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I do so much damage right now, and that was even before stacking barb tips. I think we can just explode non-Firebite. I'm honestly, like, really pushing things in terms of time limit for the Susano fight. But I think with the damage that we've got going on right now, it's fine. Oh, my crossbow died. That's why my damage started going down a lot. I think, honestly, a lot of the damage is coming from the black market effect, where my red tactics, or my tactics, are doing way more damage. And then just the crossbow being able to apply the chain reaction effect from holy marks automatically is doing a ton of damage. There's a discount. Oh good, another discount. Alright, for Susano, I'm just gonna pay a little bit more attention. Hopefully try not to get one shot. My god, the damage! You can see that, like, even before I stacked barb tips, the damage was really high from the tactic setup in the black market. But as soon as I started really stacking the barb tips there at the end, my damage just... even the arrow damage itself was just rapidly skyrocketing. Well, that was one of the easiest Transcendence runs I've ever done. Prisoner's healing passives are really broken on their own, and then when you throw, like, Ragna's Second Legacy on top of them, it's really hard to actually die unless you get bursted outright, which definitely can still happen on Transcendence. And then the fact of barb tips especially being so good on him makes it where if you're having a problem in Transcendence, it's probably with the bosses being such huge HP sponges. And as long as you have barb tips, that's really not an issue at all. Like I mentioned a couple times, the tactic setup I had there was very optimized, and then having 250% damage bonus on top of it for tactics made Prisoner look way more overpowered than he would be otherwise. But even if I just had barb tips, that run would have been easily beatable. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.